This is the largest structure ever built on 2B2T. It's called Collective Sky and was made by some of the smartest 2B2T players I've ever seen. We all know that giant obsidian structures like these have been built one after another for years, but none can ever even come close to the size of this. A few years ago, a player by the name of Tosca had an idea to build the largest obsidian structure on the server. This was their first idea, and almost 1 billion blocks of obsidian was said to be used, and was meant to be the logo for their group, the Imperials. Hundreds and hundreds of chests of obsidian were stashed all on the server. As they started building, rumours had spread that 2B2T would update to 1.19. This would prove to be a problem, as 1.19's height limit is almost 100 blocks more. This then meant that the build could be easily griefed and destroyed. So the decision was made to put the project on hold until the server was updated, which eventually happened. But disaster struck when their stash was found and griefed due to an Horizon exploit. Tosca was forced to rebuy his entire stash. With some financial help from his friend, he was able to buy back all the obsidian that he lost. And it costed a lot of money. This is without a doubt a crazy amount of money to be spending on blocks. But finally, everything was in place and it was time to start building the structure. It was decided in the last minute that the size of the build would increase to over 40,000 blocks wide and would take over 207 million blocks of obsidian, all in 30 days. How the group was able to accomplish this was, of course, using bot accounts that place blocks according to mathematical equations that defines the entire structure. Now you may be wondering, why the short time frame if they are using bots? Well, it's because of 2B2T's waiting queue. It can take days or even weeks to get into the server, and the bots need to get on and make tons of progress on the structure. Without a priority queue subscription, it would just take way too long to get onto the server. And with 36 bot accounts, that would equal up to $700 a month. So if they didn't get it finished in a month, it would end up costing a lot more money. And of course, reality struck, and it ended up taking them 40 days and 8 hours. Which means they had to repay for their subscription for a few bot accounts. At the end of the day, it cost the group over $1,000 in priority queue alone. Even though this project took a little bit longer than expected, 40 days is still insane for placing over 207 million obsidian blocks. And you may be asking, has it been griefed yet? Well, in the months after, the build hasn't seen any huge dent in regards to griefing, and you may be asking why. Well, good luck griefing the largest build on 2B2T. Not to mention, it's also made from obsidian and at the world height, which eliminates lava casts and wither damage. But you could technically grief it by filling the entire building, like what happened to the Spawnmason logo. The Spawnmasons are one of 2B2T's most well-known builder groups. 5 years ago, the Spawnmasons had an idea to build a massive logo, bigger than anything they'd ever built before, like their previous logo, which took them 6 days with multiple players working day and night. The new logo would be absolutely massive. 11,913 by 11,594 to be exact. If this build was to be built by hand, it would probably take years. So there had to be a better solution. And that solution was bots. But these were not normal bots, they were designed to build the Spawnmason logo. These bots were a heavy modified version of Baritone, and it took them ages to get it right. Each Spawnmason member was given the custom software and was assigned their own section to build. The large amount of members in the Spawnmasons was a huge advantage, as each member could use their main and alternate accounts to contribute to the project. The old logo took about 175,000 blocks of obsidian and 6 days to complete. That's pretty impressive. Until I realised that the new logo took over 28 million obsidian blocks and only 8 days to complete, even though it took 160 times more obsidian. Those bots really came in handy. Now, if someone had the idea of removing this logo by hand, let me tell you, good luck. First of all, this logo was built on the top layer of the world, which would make it impossible to spawn withers on. Withers are the only way to make an explosion powerful enough to break obsidian, so the only other option would be to mine it. With an efficiency 5 diamond pickaxe, perfect server conditions and no breaks at all. It would take 17,597 hours just to mine, or just over 2 years to mine the entire thing. This logo will probably stay there for the rest of 2B2T's life. After weeks of planning and 8 long days of construction, the Spawnmasons finally got what they wanted. The largest obsidian structure at spawn, or the largest structure in the entire server, not including nether highways. This is the largest nether highway on 2B2T, and travelling in the nether is essentially 8 times faster than when you travel in the overworld. Every day, players use these highways to travel from their bases to stashes, and it was much more efficient. But you may be asking, how far do these nether highways go? Well, eventually the 4 main highways will be created, the positive and negative X and Z highways that started at 0, 0. Over time, these highways were made longer and longer. Before June of 2016, the server was not that popular for its time. This meant that the nether highways were not often used, until a YouTuber called The Campin' Rusher created his first video on 2B2T. This made the server quickly fill up. This rush of players created a huge desire to get as far out as possible to hopefully stay safe from all the chaos of the rest of 2B2T. But for one player, a few million blocks out in the overworld still wasn't enough. In December of 2016, a player by the name of Burnsy made a post on the 2B2T subreddit with plans to reach the world border, 30 million blocks out. His plan was simple: reach the border or die trying. So he started walking, and he went further and further and further. Then after walking 800,000 blocks, the tunnel finally ended, and that was the furthest anyone had ever went out in all of 2B2T so far. But this didn't stop Burnsy, and he started to dig. But luckily he didn't have to do it alone, as due to the popularity of his Reddit post, players started helping him, meaning he wouldn't have to do it all alone. This group of people were eventually known as the Diggers, and of course they were led by Burnsy. They reached milestone after milestone, usually about every 20,000 blocks or so. 30 million blocks, and it was finally completed. Just over 3 months from Burnsy's original Reddit post, it took over 30 people just to build the highways.